Happy holidays. This is the BWI Daily Edition. This is not a Black Friday deal because this sucker's free for you Monday through Friday. So we're giving it to you, as always, 100% free. And if you want to get inside of recruiting information, you've got 2 shows to do it during the football season. On Tuesdays with our recruiting show, and then right before, to preview every game, we've got Ryan Snyder through high school football season, through the college football season for home games, and of course giving you his best bets coming up. We got all that on the way on the BWI Daily Edition. Happy holidays, Ryan. How you doing today? How's your Thanksgiving?
Good. My 3-year-old's birthday was yesterday, so it was half Thanksgiving, half birthday party. It was good. We bought him a tractor, and he helped me do the leaves yesterday before all the guests got here. It was actually pretty cool. I don't have a wheelbarrow at my new house, but we got this little tractor for him, so I pile them in there, and he drives them down, dumps it, drives back up, gets the leaves. So I got some good videos out of that. So we had a good day. How was yours?
Awesome. It was great. We hosted our first Thanksgiving at the new house, which was super exciting. I love to cook, so I got up at 7 and started cooking. So the nice thing is, like, when you do the cooking, at least this is how it's worked out in my house, is I don't have to do the cleanup. So afterwards, I got to just sit on the couch and go comatose. That part was great.
Exact opposite in my house. I can't cook to save my life, and not that I'm a great cleaner or anything like that, but we got it done yesterday. It was. Man, cleaning up after 20 people, my God, that took me like an hour and a half. So
yeah, I bet.
But it was good.
One of the things we're thankful for here in the Carr household is a dishwasher, which is also new. That's a lifesaver. That's been great so far during the holidays. If you're watching this video here on a Friday, you're probably a subscriber. You're probably somebody who watches the show regularly. So thank you. Thanksgiving, being grateful for things. We've already gotten a ton of great messages on the YouTube comments. If I haven't gotten to you, I apologize, but we are so thankful for you, the people that have made this show so great and have made the BWI Daily Edition the largest Penn State football show anywhere. So we want to keep that going. Tell your friends about it. If you're at holiday parties, you can take my information, you can take Ryan's information and pass it off as your own. The only thing we ask is then you go, hey, I have this show. You should watch it. It's on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So during the holidays, spread cheer and also the daily. That will go a long way to helping us out through the holiday season. Ryan, game coming up this weekend. Last one of the year. Mega recruiting push, right? There's going to be tons of 5-stars watching Penn State play Michigan State. Is that how do I have it right?
No, all the 5-stars are going to be over in Columbus, if I'm being honest with you. Man, that's a stacked visitor list, which you see every year for Michigan, Ohio State. But now the vast majority of the top talent is headed to Columbus, so that no surprise. That happens every year. But there are some quality players coming. I think Sean and I have been kind of teasing this on the Tuesday show for the last couple of weeks. The 2023 list is going to be very heavy with potential walk-ons. That's the case every year. Usually you get a few more 2024 guys for that very last game. Just seasons are over. It's guys up in the north or northeast, for example, New England area. They usually can't make it down to one of those last games. That's why we'll see Andrew Rappelier. We're keeping an eye on Liam Andrews this weekend. He hasn't quite confirmed if he's going to be here or not, but he's one of the top 2024 offensive linemen that we're still trying to confirm as of Friday morning. But there will be some quality guys here. T. Frank, anything you want to hit on, or you want me to just roll through some guys?
There's something I was just going to ask it until they escaped my mind, so roll through some of the guys.
Sounds good. We're all a little hungover after Thanksgiving. I get it, bud. So for top 2024 guys, there's about 3 or 4 potential scholarship guys. Like I said, Liam Andrews, we're keeping an eye on. We do know Kevin Heywood will be here, though. He's one of Penn State's top offensive line prospects, just like Liam Andrews, of course. 4-star prospect, top 200 guy by On3 out of Archbishop Wood in Warminster, 6'7", 280. I think most of you should be familiar with Kevin Heywood by now. Sean and I both do have RPM picks in for him to end up at Penn State. Don't quite see it happening this weekend. I do believe Michigan is a school that is giving them something to think about there. I still feel like he should end up staying in state, but he's had some good recent visits, and I still think he's going to take his time. So good to get him back on campus, though, for Penn State. Cam Lindsey, of course, from Aliquippa, another guy that I think if you've been following this podcast, following our work, you should be familiar with him by now. 6 foot, 195, 3-star player, as I said, out of Aliquippa. Cam, I think, has been up for 3 games already this year, and this will be his 4th. So another consistent visitor, a guy that the linebacker board's incredibly deep, but if he's someone that I think wants to maybe make a move here in the next couple months, they would definitely take him. I don't know if he would last forever, if it would work just because of all the other talent out there. So just somebody to keep an eye on there with Cam Lindsey. I think this is his 8th visit to Penn State overall, or 9th, something like that. So he's been on campus a lot. And then Eric Lee, safety out of IMG Academy, originally from Camden, New Jersey. Eric made the late decision this summer to go down to IMG. I don't know if he was playing regularly at IMG. I just haven't been able to find many stats or much information on Eric. So I need to kind of learn a little bit more about that. But unranked right now, but he's been pretty high on Penn State's board for a while. At least a guy that they're certainly monitoring. I'm not exactly sure if he would be a take at this moment or not. But 6 foot, 185, as I said, out of Camden. He's got a handful of quality offers: Ole Miss, Louisville, Pitt, I believe, Boston College, or a couple others. So I would say those are the 3 main 2024 guys that we're absolutely watching. There is one other guy for 2024 I need to mention. Jalen Watson is a good-looking wide receiver out of River Rounge, I believe it is, in Detroit. 5'10", 160 we have him at. He doesn't have a Penn State offer at the moment. West Virginia, Louisville, Maryland, Minnesota are a handful of those schools. So Jalen, I believe, camped with the staff this summer. I know he was on campus at some point. I think it was a camp this summer, and he's coming back to campus this weekend. So 4-5 quality 2024 guys. I honestly thought it'd be a little bit deeper, looking, if you would have asked me this 10 days ago. But Michigan State doesn't have that juice to him right now to really get guys on campus. Penn State should be able to win this one. We'll talk about that.
That was my question, actually. The timing of the rivalry games, and this is rivalry, we're going to get into that in best bets. Does that hurt Penn State at all? Does that matter, the timing of their big games coming typically in October or early November? And then the series with Michigan State has been competitive, but I don't think anyone would call it like a premium rivalry game in college football. Plus the whole cycle through Maryland and Rutgers and that mess that they've made at the end of the schedule for the East. I guess, does any of that matter in recruiting, that you don't end on a high note, or does it just matter that you got them for the whiteout at some point?
Well, in my eyes, it just matters from the perspective of Michigan, Ohio State's always the same weekend. And that game is always going to, when you're talking about getting kids on campus, showcasing things, 70% of their top targets are they're going to Columbus this weekend. So from that perspective, I think it matters. But I don't know if I'd say that the Michigan State Penn State kind of being a fake rivalry. I don't really see that having a big impact on it. I just think when you're always on the same day as the biggest game, maybe in college football, arguably. I don't know. There's some others I think stand out when that's always the case, and especially when the game is in Columbus, right, where guys from Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or even down in Baltimore, when they can get, it's a lot easier to get to Columbus than it is to Ann Arbor, for example. It just is a disadvantage, and Penn State knows that. It's just like when Penn State has their whiteout game, it's a disadvantage for everybody else in the area. So whether you're into Ohio State or not, if you get an opportunity, or whether you have an offer from Ohio State or not, if you get an opportunity to go to that game, you're going. I thought there were probably 5 or 6 guys this week that I don't think they're really top targets for Ohio State, but they're going to make that trip because they can.
I guess it's just the end. Most high school football seasons are over, so you have the opportunity to get some of these guys there more easily. You always talk about travel on a noon game. If you don't have a game the night before, it's a little bit easier. And then the game doesn't necessarily have consequences. Like Penn State has to win this game, but it is not like the other game where Penn State has played and either won or lost against those two teams before the final game, which usually decides the Big Ten East. So I guess it's just kind of that final note of this is important. It's advantageous to get players on campus, aside from the size and magnitude of the individual game. Is any of that a factor?
I don't think so. Look, if Michigan State's 8-4, and both these teams are fighting for New Year's Day bowls or potential New Year's Six bowls, something like that, I think you see a better list. But again, I don't. for the most part, I don't think that's a big factor. No.
Okay. Any other names or any other facets about this game that you're looking at?
Yeah, there's some good underclassmen. John Forster expected to be back. Good-looking running back. T. Frank, you saw him during camp this year. Good-looking running back from Penn State. Shares time with Yassine Willis, who's a good 2024 running back. Both are at St. Joseph's Regional. So doesn't have crazy stats. I think he had like 850 or so all-purpose yards this year. Nothing too crazy, but good year for John, and I think he's going to be a guy we talk about moving forward. Makai Rosignol, I believe it is. Makai, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. He's his teammate, wide receiver, 6 foot, 170 out of St. Joseph Regional, as I said. Doesn't hold a Penn State offer yet. Has a few quality schools, Syracuse, Boston College, for example. Ethan Callaway, I talked about on the Tuesday podcast, coming up from North Carolina. Actually, Ethan's a 2024 prospect. I apologize. Should have mentioned him earlier. He does have LSU offer, Florida, NC State, Virginia Tech, some quality schools there. But, for the most part, 4, 5, 6 potential scholarship guys in 2024, a couple of 2025 guys coming up through the ranks that I think will probably get a scholarship down the road. And then there's also Bear McWhorter, I believe it is, out of Georgia. He camped with the staff earlier this year, 6'4", 275, a 2026 prospect, who does hold a Penn State offer. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, Louisville are a few others. I don't believe Georgia's offered him yet, but they're keeping an eye on him. But Bear's a good-looking upcoming prospect, but again, he's a freshman. Somebody we'll talk about a lot more down the road.
So apparently he bears watching. I'll show myself out. Sorry. So the last thing is that we're going to get to in recruiting is it's finally here. The thing that we have been throwing up the warning signs and the air raid sirens about. December 2022, the transfer portal and NIL meet at the end of the season. So there's a lot of stuff coming, which again, as I said before, if you're watching the video, like the video, help us spread this information. But also, if you've been watching this show, you've heard this a lot before, and you're going to need to watch the show to keep up with everything that's happening. The portal is already heating up. What are you looking for in December from a recruiting standpoint, and then from all the other stuff? What are some things that fans should watch out for that you see on the horizon? Do you have any more specifics on that you can see as we've gotten closer?
Right. I would just say the next 25 days are why you subscribe to sites like this. Not even trying to be overly dramatic. I mean, obviously, we'd love for you guys to subscribe, but these are the times that those subscriptions are worth it. Really worth it, if that makes sense. Just because it's going to be nonstop news, really. I mean, the guys are going to start getting out of the portal here in the coming days. I would expect. Probably not Sunday, or maybe even Sunday or Monday. We'll start hearing some names, but Penn State's definitely going to have some outgoings. They're going to obviously be searching for guys. They already are. Sean wrote about that this past week. A couple of FCS guys to keep an eye on at wide receiver. But for the most part, I think the big thing fans need to know is that December 9th to the 11th, that's going to be Penn State's key recruiting weekend. I expect the majority of the committed guys have already used their official visits. The guys in the region, they will certainly come back for unofficials. I think we'll be looking at 4, 6, maybe even up to 7 official visits that weekend. I know Joseph McPoy is expected to be one. Quintrell Travis, the junior college defensive lineman out of Iowa Western, I expect him to probably be there. Keyshawn Blackstock, we're keeping an eye on for that weekend as well. Who else am I missing? I think Chris Johnson's going to be somebody we're going to have an eye on that weekend. A few others as well that we'll talk about a little bit more in a future date. But that's the weekend where Penn State wants to get everybody on campus, the committed guys, non-committed guys. Not that you won't see visitors that first weekend in December or even that last weekend before the signing period opens, which of course is December 21st. But that middle weekend in December is when they hope to do their best to get as many guys on campus and hopefully get some commitments out of that.
So that leads me perfectly to the next question is if it is a commitment, but also if it's just getting a specific guy on campus, what constitutes a win out of that final recruiting weekend push?
Oh, you finish your class. I mean that's what they want to do. They're down to 19 now. I think they have 4 or 5 spots probably to give. Do I think they'll have all of the spots filled by then? Probably not, but that's the goal. You want to sign, you want to max everybody out and have everybody signed by December 21st. Excuse me, I say max everybody out. Max out your scholarships, what I meant by that. So if they could have 23, 24 commits by December 21, that would be excellent. Usually we see them carry a scholarship or two over just because there is that second
there's
January
always a Vega
period.
Ioane chance.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's likely, but they definitely want to get 3-4 more commitments, get this up to 22. 23 is what I've been saying for the longest time, but I do think with so much movement we're about to see, I could see it. They're just being a too good of a prospect to pass up kind of situation. So I could see 24 happening. But the goal is to certainly get 22 or so guys signed on December 21st and then see where we're at here before the actual normal signing day, which, of course, takes place in early February.
It's going to be a very wild and interesting and entertaining ride. And again, like Ryan said, this is why you want to sign up for Blue White Illustrated. $10 for access to premium content and information all the way until next football season. So the recruiting cycle and spring football, all that included in there. It's a great deal. You should definitely sign up for it. You should also be listening to what Ryan has to say about how you might spend a little bit of your extra money this weekend from all your Black Friday saving.
I think this is going to be one of the best seasons Toledo's ever had. We'll do the official play will be -7.5 first half. Degenerate in me sometimes watches a little Hawaii, Stanford. I'll lay 12 with Stanford. Vanderbilt stinks. I had them last week against Notre Dame. That was a winner.
There he is, the man of the hour, Ryan Snyder. Give me your record, by the way. We did not talk about this before the show. Where are we now this season?
Another 2-2. I'm bummed. We had that 5-0. I thought we were going to go on a run, and then we've had back-to-back 2-2 weekends. So we are 2-2 last week. We are 26, 22-1 on the season, and then all time we are 67-51. So good winning records on both the all time and on the season, but I definitely was hoping to be a little closer to 30-20. Something like that on the year. But we haven't. We won more than we lost, and I'll take that.
I was going to still, that's a net positive. So let's take a look. You got an extra game in the slate this week, I think. So let's take a look at what we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got a ton, too, if you throw in the Friday games. There's actually a ton of games I like today. I'll hit on that in a second. But our main games this week, we got Kansas State, Michigan, Ohio State, Coastal Carolina, JMU, Florida State, Washington State, and then, of course, Michigan State, Penn State. I'm going to start off real quick. Just I want to mention, if you're listening to us, usually T. Frank, you put out the audio before the YouTube. So if you are listening, if you do listen to audio here on Friday, Tulane, you're probably not going to hear this by the time Tulane starts. I do like Tulane over Cincinnati. You may listen to this before Missouri starts against Arkansas. Really like Missouri getting 4. I mean, that would absolutely have been one of my plays if it was on Saturday. So if you hear this before, I would absolutely go try and grab that 4 against Arkansas. I just think Arkansas played 2 back-to-back massive games for them. I just don't know how motivated they're going to be. Missouri's still trying to get into a bowl game. I really like Missouri in this spot. And then, I actually added Florida State in the end, so we'll get into that. Florida State is a Friday game. So I'll start with Florida State just because it is a Friday game. I should have threw it at the top of the list there. But, just a couple things that stand out in this one. First off, Florida has won 3 straight in this series, right? Florida State, proud program. This is their year to get a win. And I don't think just get a win, but I think they should dominate this. A couple reasons why. One, Florida State coming off of 4 straight wins. Yes, it's against ACC opponents, not the SEC like Florida's been playing. But they've just looked really good over this last stretch. Kind of like Penn State in some ways, although they played a little bit of lesser opponents, but it's kind of similar to Penn State. I think they've just have really kind of progressed really well in recent weeks. Trey Vincent, their running back, I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. And this is what I really think is massive for this game. Florida State is top 25 in the country for explosive plays, and Florida is bottom 90. They're outside the top 90, in allowing explosive plays. I really think that's going to favor Florida State well, especially in those explosive plays. Florida's weakness has all year has been allowing big runs, and I think this really sets up well, as I said, for Trey Vincent. Another key stat here too: Florida is 127th in the nation in third down defense. Florida, third down offense, 6. There's a massive discrepancy there. When Florida State needs to get some plays on third down, I expect them to do so. The spread is 9.5. It's jumping to 10 in a lot of places. You can still get it at 9.5 as of late Friday morning. So if you find it, absolutely, obviously 9.5 is way different than 10 in this game. So try and grab that 9.5. But I'll take the Seminoles here. Just like I said, 3 straight losing years here. A lot of little statistical things that line up well for them. I think they run it up tonight.
Kansas at Kansas State. We're once again on the Kansas bandwagon. They're getting plus 11 at Kansas State. Not that we're on the bandwagon. Where are we going with this game?
We're faded. Yeah. We're faded. So this is, I don't know if you remember this. This was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, when Kansas was playing Oklahoma State, T. Frank. I played Kansas that weekend. I said, this is the weekend they have to win because they have 3 difficult games to end the season. If they don't win that Oklahoma State game, they're not going to get bowl eligible. Well, since beating Oklahoma State, they've lost their last 2 games by a combined score of 98-42 against Texas and Texas Tech. I mean, I just think that they are happy they got their bowl eligibility. Lance Leipold got his contract extension, and now, by the way, they go against Kansas State. Yes, it's a rivalry game, but Kansas State has a lot to play for in this one. If they win this game, they get into the Big 12 championship. And then if you just look at Kansas State, man, their last 3 wins. They've been putting it up, man. 31-3 against Baylor, 48-31 against West Virginia, and if you go back to that Oklahoma State win that Kansas State had against Oklahoma State, 48-0 at the end of October. So when they're getting wins, they're putting up some serious points. Like I said, I just think Kansas is happy to get into a bowl game. I don't see what kind of motivation they have here. The spread is 11, another big spread. Normally, I would be on the opposite side of these, but when I really look up and down the board, it's just there's a lot of underdogs that I'm just scared to take this week. So maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but I'll lay the 11 with Kansas State in this one.
So I guess that means when we go to the game, that you're a little hesitant here. What are you looking at? Michigan getting 7 versus Ohio State at home. So
I'll say this. So if you would have asked me this at any point over the last month, I'd have been on Michigan. But I'm on Ohio State now. And no Blake Corum, no Donovan Edwards. That's what it looks like, at least as of Friday morning. I mean, that's what Michigan State, or that's Michigan State.
That's their entire offense.
Yeah, well, that's what Michigan, that is their entire offense. But also, this is why Ohio State added Jim Knowles. Ohio State could not stop the run last year. It was a massive issue. Jim Knowles, I mean, obviously he's a great, pass defender too. Don't get me wrong. He's a great defensive coordinator overall. But I mean, this is why they went out to get this guy. His 4.25. Ronnie Hickman as a safety has been playing really strong against the run all year. You take Donovan Edwards out, you take Blake Corum out. I just don't trust JJ McCarthy. So I would say this: out of all the plays I have, this is the one I'm least confident in. And obviously, if Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards are warming up and they're going to give it a go tomorrow, it certainly changes my opinion on some things. But with those 2 out, do you trust J.J. McCarthy?
No. No, I don't.
I mean, he would have to put up 30 points, I feel like. And I just don't really see that happening. So I'll lay the 7 with Ohio State. And I think they can win this by 10, 13, something like that. And just keep an eye on those running backs, though. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, that is their offense. Ronnie Bell and 14, the slot receiver, his name is escaping me at the second. Good players, but they don't design offense through the receivers. They design offense of when you stop paying attention to the receivers. And if you don't have that to worry about, you have a significantly different situation. Tommy Eichenberg, I was pulling this up, 78 tackles this year for Ohio State to lead the Big Ten, according to PFF. And on top of that, 61 of those are stops, meaning the defense won that play. Mm-hmm. So they got 2 yards, 3 yards, whatever it is. That 61 stops, the next closest is 47. So he is far and away the best linebacker in the Big Ten in terms of productivity, according to PFF. And you're right. That is why they brought in Jim Knowles, is to have some accountability in the run game. And if you can stop the run game, there is very... I mean, did you watch the end of that Illinois game?
A little bit of
Michigan?
Go ahead.
I was just 18 for Michigan. Ran to the end zone twice, open, to win the game. No field goals, no drama. Get the touchdown, and McCarthy missed him twice. And it's not that's just one throw. Like, there were multiple opportunities in that game for him to throw the football down the field, but inconsistency, I think, when in terms of the full length of the season and not just what Penn State fans viewed, inconsistency has been the part of his game that has been really the dominant thing for me. And, playing really good in certain games and bad in others, you're running that roller coaster. And in this game, there's no margin for error, as we talk about with Penn State in these teams, is they're very close. So I don't blame you. I'm on Ohio State as well, especially with the running back situation. Coastal Carolina, James Madison. People are not here for my analysis. They're here for your analysis. So what do we got for Coastal Carolina and James Madison?
Just a situation where Coastal Carolina has 0 to play for, and James Madison's a damn good team. James Madison, of course, is their first year in FBS. They any other year, they would be winning the conference championship. They can't go to the conference championship. They can't even win their division, which is it's such a silly rule. I don't understand it. If you're going from FCS to FBS, why you can't participate in that? I don't get it. But Lawson, a couple things here. One, this would be the conference championship basically if it was next week if they could. Coastal Carolina is already into the conference championship. I believe they're going to end up probably playing Troy. Coastal Carolina lost Grayson McCall. Okay, so they're already playing with their backup quarterback. And they have nothing to play for. If you, why are you even, I'm not saying don't start your starters, but, you have no reason to fight in this game. And JMU has every reason to just run up the score and make this silly rule looks even more silly than it is, right? So 14 is a lot, but I just don't, since they have lost Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina has been a different team. They have struggled. Defensively, they have struggled. I think JMU can win this by 28. I think that there is all the reason in the world to just play your backups and not put a lot of focus into this game if you're Coastal Carolina. It's not going to impact your bowl. It's not going to impact your conference championship, because the Sun Belt, they only have a couple bowls they can go to anyway. So as long as they just win next week, they're going to go to the best bowl they can. There's nothing on the line for Coastal Carolina in this game. And then again, JMU is a really good team. Todd Centino, I believe it is their quarterback. He's somebody that I know fans probably don't really know a lot of, but he's a really good player. Threw for 2,400 yards, ran for another 400 this year. I think his touchdown to interceptions is something like 25-5 or something like that, 25-6. He's a quality player. And then Coastal Carolina, they just been terrible against the pass this year. I think JMU could be up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter in this one. Out of all the games, this one I like the most. And that's why I had to add a Sun Belt game in there.
I love it. So we only have a few minutes left here on the BWI Daily Edition. Washington State, and of course, Michigan State, Penn State. So let's go through this one quickly, and then let's get a recap and get to our game of the week. Awesome. Yeah,
I think this stacks up really well for Washington State. I can go into a bunch of different stats, but here's what you need to know. Washington, you look at their stats offensively, they look good, but they have played absolutely no one. Michigan State is 90th in defense. Kent State, who they also played, bottom 100. Colorado, Stanford, both bottom 100. Arizona State, Arizona State's 125. Arizona's 105 or something like that. All these defenses they have played are trash. Absolute trash. Washington State 9-1 against the spread at home this year. This is a rivalry game. I just take the Cougs in this one, man. I think Washington's kind of a fake team this year.
All right, so let's get through our review here and get to our game of the week. Run down your picks again.
Yeah, just give me Florida State. Lost 3 straight in this series. They have a lot to play for. I'll take Florida State by 10 in this one. Kansas State. Kansas has nothing to play for. Kansas State has to get in the Big 12 championship. I expect them to roll easily tomorrow. Ohio State -7. I think I like it, but if there's one to stay away from, it's that one. JMU, if there's one to play, it's JMU, especially if you can get them at 13.5. It is going to 14 now, so that might be tough to do. Coastal Carolina has nothing to play for. And then Washington State, I just think this is a great matchup for them, and they've played really well at home. Again, 9-1 against the spread at home over the last 10 games. How can you not take that?
All right, so let's get to your favorite game of the week to pick. No matter what the slate is, you love these Penn State games. So Michigan State +18 versus the Nittany Lions at home. Of course, it's our largest spread of the week. What are you looking at here, or do you want to give your pick after we have a chat about it?
Look, Michigan State. What does Michigan State have to play for? Like, this is what I look at. Does Michigan State, after everything, all the BS they've been through since that Michigan game, do they really want to fight to go to the Pinstripe Bowl? Do they really want to put up a fight to go to the Pinstripe Bowl? I don't see it. There's my analysis. Penn State. Hey, and I've won back-to-back Penn State games now. Hey, we win this, we'll almost be back to 500 on the year. So I think it'll be 4-5 if we win this one, something like that. So maybe 3-5 actually. But either way, I mean, Penn State should win this by 21. I think my prediction was like 35-17-ish, which of course is like right on the number. But T. Frank, go ahead. You've watched more film than I have on this.
My problem is that they have a decent core on offense that lacks explosive playmakers. And if Penn State is on and they're playing well, then there's no chance that Michigan State can hang with the Nittany Lions scoring points. The problem is if Penn State's offense continues to sputter early in the game and the defense and just muddy things up, right? Just muddy things up, make it ugly. It's a low energy output game on senior day with, tickets available at Beaver Stadium. This is always the game. This is always the game where it's like, the post-Thanksgiving game that very few people are at, and it provides a different atmosphere, and Penn State does lose a little bit of that home field advantage. But if you look at them from a breakdown perspective, the tough thing to evaluate about Michigan State is their pass defense post-Michigan with all of the situations they've had losing players. They played Michigan, run the ball. Illinois, run the ball. Rutgers, no talent. Indiana, couldn't throw the ball because Dexter Williams still needs to learn how to be a quarterback with a little bit more precision. But they ran the ball a ton, which I'm going to also put in the win category for T. Frank this year, saying the thing that was missing from Indiana's offense was the quarterback run game. And then he goes for like 130 yards against Michigan State. So there aren't a lot of great comparisons for what Penn State can do on that slate of teams as far as their passing abilities, even with Sean Clifford, even without Parker Washington. But this is not a good secondary. They have historically been bad. They have been recently bad. And I struggle to find a way that they're going to stop Penn State on the ground or through the air. The defensive line, 64 is a pretty good football player. 8, not so good. 98 plays hot and cold when he's a defensive end. So they've got, I don't know, they have bad communication skills on the back end. Other than not trusting the Penn State offense, I don't see a reason why I would want to pick anything close to Michigan State covering this other than sloppy end of the season football. But yeah, I would go with I would say they're going to win by 21 or so as well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a team that's motivated. Did you see the Mel Tucker bonus news? He's supposed to share it with his. You didn't see this? So supposedly he got a $100,000 bonus that was supposed to be like shared with his assistants or something, and it wasn't dispersed with assistants. He just kept it all himself. I don't know. I don't know 100% if that's true. Just things you read on Twitter. But yeah, interesting. I don't know. Just after last year's loss and some of the other losses they've had, James doesn't really say it, but he likes running up scores when he can.
Yes.
And this would work well if they come out and click. And
so that's my question: is do you think they'll be able to do that? Do you think they're going to be able to run the score up on Michigan State and make it look bad?
Yes, I do. Because I still feel like the backups can put up points. Now, they haven't really done that since like way back in Ohio, I believe. I mean, how many touchdowns does Aller have since
Indiana
then?
was pretty good.
Indiana? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I feel like they should be able to put up 10 or so points once the backups get in, and that should keep it a cushion. But, I mean, it is a big spread, and it's certainly like the ones I listed earlier, I mean, this one would certainly be next to Michigan and Ohio State, and ones where I'm not confident in. Those other 5 I would take over this one, but I don't see motivation on Michigan State's end. And hey, Penn State is still fighting for a New Year's Six bowl. I mean, they're back in 11th. They haven't. I thought they would have cracked the top 10 this week. The whole Tennessee debate is interesting to me. I've been really high on Tennessee all year, but I understand why Penn State fans think that's that's BS. That Tennessee's still ahead of them. I see both sides of it, but if Penn State, I mean, obviously they have to win this game to make a New Year's Six game.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. I mean, I'm starting to think they're going to go to the Citrus Bowl regardless. So just because of all the other teams still in the mix, but we'll see how conference championships stack out. So I know I'm not talking about this game or this spread right now. I'm talking about other stuff. But Penn State.
That's what people care about, right? That's the thing. Right. Is like this game is only a vehicle to get to the next one, and then we'll have an interesting game to recap against a team that isn't down most of its starters and barely hanging on to the idea of bowl eligibility. The one last thing I want to say, though, and this is where this is what gives me the most pause, is Peyton Thorne. I think Fitz said it best yesterday. Great Sean Clifford comparison, where he is capable of delivering some unbelievably impressive passes to the middle of the field, to the outside, putting the ball on a dime, nothing you can do about it. But he's also late on half his reads, and he's also seems very insecure when throwing the football in certain situations where he's hesitant, and then you can get an interception. So I don't know what Peyton Thorne is going to show up. I don't know what Sean Clifford is going to show up, which is what makes this game so difficult to me, is because they could keep it competitive for a little bit, or it could be over immediately. And I would agree. If you can stay away from this one, I'd stay away from this one. But Ryan is on record saying that Michigan State has nothing to play for, and they're ready to check out for the season. I
kind of like the under a little bit too, because I mean, if Michigan State does keep it close, I'd see this certainly staying under. But we'll see. I mean, if I'll lay the 18, I think it might be up to 19 now. If it gets to 20, I definitely wouldn't touch it. But 18, I could maybe see touching it. So take Penn State, but bet the other ones I gave you, not this one.
Got plenty of them today. Happy Thanksgiving again, Ryan. Appreciate you doing this today. I know that working through the holidays is what we do, but also this show, I really appreciate you, Fitz, and Greg, and Nate coming on the show and making it awesome. So thank you, and happy holidays to all you guys.
Are we at 10,000 subscribers yet? Where are we at?
We are just shy of 10,000. We are inching our way every day to 10,000, which was my goal for the season. So we still got a bowl game. We still got all the National Signing Day. We got to get there. 10,000 by the end of the Penn State football season. We are about 800 shy. So we just need to get there. That'll do today for the BWI Daily Edition. We'll come up tomorrow with a live show post-game. Tom Hannafin is back for the game, so we'll have our full show coming up for the end of the regular season, closing out on a high note. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr. That is Ryan Snyder. Make sure you tune in after the game to discuss everything that happened with Penn State football. We'll talk to you then.